Foxclan Publications. Stepping into the light.
Hello, everyone. This is Matt of the Authors Podcast, Stepping into the Light. I would just like to take a moment to ask everyone that is watching this video to like and to share and to also subscribe. That helps us out tremendously so that we can bring more people to our channel and get the message out about what we are doing here. It would mean a great deal to Wesley, Tim, Joe, and I if you would do that. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope you continue to tune in every week. Thank you, and our podcast is coming up next. All right, everybody, welcome. This is the Foxclan podcast, Stepping into the Light, and I've got both Wesley and Tim here with me. Why don't you say hi to everyone?
Hi, thank you.
Hey guys, how are you doing? So, we're going to do something a little bit different today. It's been Matt asking me and Tim questions the last couple episodes. So me and Tim's going to ask Matt some questions about his book.
There we go.
Matt, can you give us the name of your book?
All right, the name of my book is called Saving Farah, and the series is called Malik's Second Chance, and I'm also working on book 2 right now.
So tell us a little bit about what your first book's about.
Sure, my first book is about a character by the name of Malik, who is basically a park ranger in the state of Ohio. He works for this company, and as the name implies, he mostly works in the forest, and he gets himself into an auto accident because it's winter, and basically he's going to lose his life. But God suspends time and explains to him that, you do realize you haven't been living right. You haven't been right with me. And he says to Malik, if I let you die right now, you know where you're going. But he says that he's going to give Malik a chance and an opportunity to change that. So he tells Malik, you know what it is that you've always wanted. And he asks Malik after that, what is it? Can you tell me? And Malik says, well, basically to solve crimes. And so God says to him, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do what it is that you've always wanted to do, to go and solve crimes. But I'm actually going to let you do the solving of the case before the crime actually happens. So he's going to send Malik to different areas of the world throughout different cases in history, and Malik will have the chance to solve those crimes before they happen.
Now, is this a true story? That would be the big question, I would say.
Well, the short answer is yes. And of course, I listen to true crime a lot while I'm doing my job. And one day I listened to a particular story that actually really broke my heart. Like, I was actually in literal tears while I was listening to it. And when I heard the story, I thought to myself, I just wish that it were possible for someone to go back and stop that from happening to the poor lady. And it came to me while I was driving my route for my job. I was like, wait a second, that would be a really fun and exciting story, a really good story that I think people would enjoy. And so I thought maybe if it's done right, it could be really enjoyable. So obviously in the real story, which for the sake of respect towards the victim and her family, I'm not going to say which case it was because I'm going to keep that separate. This story itself is a fictional story, and I want it to be thought of as a fictional story. But, that case is what inspired this story.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think that's the smart thing to do, to keep the real people safe.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I actually have had some brief communications with her family on social media. Like, this case is really, really sad. And when they post pictures of her on what would have been her birthday if she was still alive, things like that, I believe that the whole world sees that and just wants justice to come for her sake. In this case, it isn't completely solved yet. There has been one arrest made, which implies that maybe he was involved in the murder, but it hasn't been completely solved. I think most people believe there's a lot more to the story, and I know I believe there's a lot more to the story, although I can't say for sure. And on my end, I do believe that a form of what my story is somewhat like a form of what happened, although there's a lot of things added in, of course. But I hope that makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you want to keep your, readers need to be interested in what's going on. So if it's written properly, it's a good storyline. It really is.
Thank you. And so far, the people that have read it have given me good feedback, and the people have also tended to share it with their family members and people they know. So that's what really matters to me. It's much more important to me than trying to make money. I want people to read it. I think you two as authors can understand that.
Yeah, very much so. So going around the world, are there specific places, towns, cities, or countries that will be involved in your book?
Well, I mean, I have some direction so far, but honestly, these cases could wind up anywhere. It just depends on which ones I choose. Right now, so far, the two stories that one that I've completed, one that I'm working on, have both been in the United States, but Malik isn't necessarily limited to that. I'm going to actually develop that a little bit more in the second book, that this is actually much bigger than Malik. And God calls more people than just Malik to do these kinds of things. So that story, that part of the story will be developed in the second book, but I'm not going to finish or expand on that quite yet because there's a lot of details even I don't know yet.
Hey, you gotta do that. You don't want to give it all away.
Yeah.
So, I guess your character's Malik. Does he have any help? Does anybody help him, or does he do everything on his own?
The first story is kind of an introduction, obviously, but he does have some spiritual help, and that's pretty much implied in the story that he definitely has that spiritual help to make things work, because God has a way of making things fit together, and that's definitely because of the spiritual help. But overall, he does have to do the solving by himself. God doesn't necessarily intervene in the solving, and he knows a lot of the case because he actually studied this case, very much like how I've studied the case in real life. So since he actually did study the real case, he has some ideas, but he does have to put everything together and figure out the exact timing. It's not like police cases tell every little detail, and so he has to figure those out, and he has to do it before they happen. He can't intervene a second too early, or he could ruin it. He could alarm the perpetrators and they could take off, and all of a sudden the timeline's changed. So he has to try and do it at the exact right time. And he's not allowed to tell the others what he's doing, because he can't let them figure it out that he's trying to stop the perpetrators. So, that's what he's kind of battling, and it's a tough battle. And right off the bat, you'll find out that Malik does make mistakes throughout this case. I wanted to show that he as a person is just as flawed as the rest of us. So, and that's just a snapshot into how I developed all the characters, because every single character in my book has flaws. And if you read over it, you'll see those flaws and identify them.
Oh, cool. It sounds intriguing.
Yeah, thank you.
So what, Max, is this book available right now?
Yeah, it's currently available on Amazon, and if you type in Saving Farah from pretty much anywhere in the world, you should be able to find it. And it's listed under my pen name, Malik St. Peter. But also, as I shared earlier, and as we share our videos, I do plan on putting the links to all of our, the books that we're featuring at least, that we're currently advertising, so everybody can click on it and get our books. But the profile should lead to all of our books, and if you look through them, you can find other books as well. But my book, again, is called Saving Farah, and if you type that in, you should find it pretty easily. It usually comes up first when I type it in, at least.
And can we get this in hardback?
Yes, I have it in hardback and also paperback, and there's also a Kindle version that you can read as well. And currently, I'm actually working on an audio book, and that should be finished by the end of June of this year. So I'm looking forward to that.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's going to go well.
We
I think.
definitely need to figure out to do it yourself.
Well, I have resigned myself to start studying how to do that. The thing is, there's exact decibels that have to be in the settings and other technical jargon like that. So getting the exact settings correct will take a little bit of studying because you cannot have any kind of noises, like the dead air noise that naturally records, which I do know how to remove a lot of that stuff currently. But again, the settings are very strict with Audible. So, and I have to set it up just perfectly. And I need a professional mic, which I've finally got one that helps cancel sounds. I think you probably have seen YouTubers use those if you've watched any videos. I'm going to work on the technology aspect so that I can, be part of that. So it may take some time for me to have that down accurately, but then I can help you guys with it.
Well, I'm sorry, but I would much rather pay half the royalties to you than some other person getting rich by getting half the royalties plus, more and more money. Because if they're making more money than the author, to me, I'm sorry, there's something wrong with that.
Oh, well, if you don't sell as many as it would take to pay it back, I guess they would. But I think you'll always make more sale than they will per unit. But that being said, I know that we're all about doing it yourself, and some things they just take time to learn how to do. And the bigger companies that release these audiobooks have very strict requirements, and they can fulfill those because of the money they have. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of Scribed, kind of a competitor to Audible. Have you ever heard of that one? I don't know if they have as strict requirements as Audible. I'd have to look that up.
I'm hoping maybe one day we can do it, and then we can release our version of Audible, at least on our websites, maybe.
Yeah, I know somebody that knows how to make apps as well. If you're wanting to do like our own version of Audible, he's currently located in Japan, so maybe he could help.
Hey, but that's still, yeah. I know a guy that can do apps too, from our old days at Branson Ghost Paranormal Tours.
Well, there we go. Looks like we have some options to work with, so that's a good start.
That's very good.
Yeah, I'm sure I can talk to him, let him know what we're trying to do, and he can figure something out. You remember Jerry, don't you, Tim?
sure do. I didn't know he did apps. That's interesting.
Jerry's smart when it comes to that stuff.
Oh, cool. Had no idea. Well, that's cool.
We'll need our website first because it would be an app that's based on our website, so it would be basically the same but in form that's good for our our phones, tablets, etc. But hopefully we could have a link if you're interested in an audiobook on that website and app. Click here and we'll do it professionally for you. And then of course I don't want to give away all the information, but I've learned a lot myself just in the little bit we've done, and I definitely would want to share with you guys what I've learned so we can work together on these types of things. But definitely, I think I kind of directed us on a bit of a tangent here, didn't I? But this is good information too. But yeah. I would like to move things back to my book, I think, so you guys can continue asking me questions.
Oh, how many pages? I mean, how many pages and chapters? I mean, what do you have? And the length of the book?
Sure, the formats may vary slightly between like 380, 400 something pages, depending on which version you're talking about. I've had a few different versions because I have the Kindle, the hardback, and the paperback.
No, I got you.
And because there's many different versions, it may vary slightly. I've tried to do my best to catch everything, but when you first start out, especially DIY, you start finding things you're like, oh, I better change this before I sell any more of these.
Yeah, exactly. That happens a lot. You wanted to add something and forgot, go back and do it, or take something out and change it, yeah, because you want another book and so forth. Yeah, that happens a lot. Copy and paste, that's my friend.
Yeah.
Sounds like copy and paste is cheating on me then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you take a lot of notes, write a lot of notes down, and try to type them in later. But as far as that goes, I had to get the one that taught me how to spell and how to put words in a sentence right. So I got you. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually two things that can really help you as far as writing a book. The first thing is Chat GPT AI. Now, I would recommend only using it if you have writer's block, or you want like an idea. Chat GPT can actually help you with that. But of course, you want to go back and make it yours. You don't want to put exactly what an AI bot gives you. The other thing is Grammarly, and I don't know if you guys have used that before, but there's a free version and there's a paid version. The paid version's a little more extensive, but you can still use it for free. So that's also an option to help out with your editing process. Did Grammarly help you at all?
No.
No.
Maybe it Grammarly made me sound like even more like a retard than I already am.
Moving away from that, I think that's a good idea. I made a very strong point not to make my book at all political, and that's because I want to make sure that people from all types of political backgrounds can read it without any kind of propaganda being forced down their throats or whatever. And I don't know about you, Tim. I don't know you as well, but I do know that, Wesley and I obviously have some very strong opinions.
My opinions follow yours. Don't worry. They're good. Very good.
Very strong.
Well, I wouldn't mind doing a separate type of political podcast sometime in the future, maybe at some point. But I do think, for obvious reasons, we're going to stay away from that on Foxclan publications. I think it's pretty clear why, but we want all people to enjoy our books and our podcast.
Yeah, I think we all keep politics off our books because we just should. I mean, that's a better thing. Just makes it easier to read.
Yeah, exactly. But getting back to the book, I did put a lot of work into developing the characters. I think that, for any of you that are watching this and decide to read this book, you will actually really like a lot of the characters in the book, with exception to the ones that I, wrote purposefully for you not to like. So I hope that you do not like those characters, because if you do, I'd be very concerned.
Oh, cool. So do you base some of your characters on people that you actually know, like a friend or a family member or something? You can use how their I want to say this, their personality, whatever, to put into a character.
I'm actually glad you asked that question, and while I did semi-base them off of the real-life characters in the situation, or that were involved in the situation, there's a lot of little parts to this book that I actually threw in, things that were actually happening to me or around me at the time. Like, for instance, I was on a trip to Louisiana with some friends, and I was riding I was driving for a portion of the trip, and then we pulled over and switched so that someone else drove. So I threw that in, as if it, what was happening in real life was happening in the book. And I even had the characters switch driving just like I was at a gas station. So I did draw a little bit from real life just to, add that reality, or the touch of reality that people like to read. And there's also a section towards the end of the book with a character that Malik's trying to save. I threw in something that was exactly the kind of thing a friend of mine would do, and it's supposed to be kind of humorous and a little bit silly. It's a little bit of character building, and it's also supposed to show that Malik and Farah have formed a strong bond.
Yeah, you can't make up in your mind what you can see in real life. That's for sure. That happens.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have had similar experiences as you were writing your books. Of course, Wesley's books are already about real life.
Correct.
The Dark
Right.
Path was based on basically friends that I grew up with, but character-wise. But the story, of course, was just a story I had from when I was a kid. So those were just some characters based on myself, and then based on friends. So I've been there and done that.
Yep,
Now
exactly.
most everything based on true people, like the Tim Hibden in my newest book I'm writing, Hotel Hell. Gee, that's that Tim right there.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. We'll need to do we'll need to do some time with that too one time. So.
Yeah, it'd be neat to have both of you talk about some experiences, at the same time.
Yeah, so that'll be coming up here pretty soon. Tim and I, and then my ex, Melissa, which she played a big part in that same book, honestly. A lot of people know, Wesley and Melissa from the series of Haunting. So now it's of course Wesley and Nikki. So I still get people ask, if we get along or if we investigate together or what. But no, we do get along. We don't investigate together. Not as of right now. It's just because the opportunity hasn't come up. But we definitely get along. We are at a good place to where her and Nikki are best friends or good friends, and they like to get together and torment me together. So it works out good.
So I'm glad it works out for the good, because it's very rare. Knowing both you and Nikki, and then knowing that Melissa's your ex, it's just very rare to see people like that get along. And also knowing that you have people that were involved in Nikki's life before you, so that's amazing to see. Of course, I don't want to discuss your personal life or anything.
Just
Oh,
from
we
what
torment
I've
the hell out of each other. Tim knows.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times. Yeah. Everything works out now, though. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, hopefully
definitely.
in the next episode or two, we can have, this about Hotel Hell, and have Tim and Melissa, maybe a part 1 and a part 2,
Yeah,
with real
that sounds good.
documented footage. And what some of that footage would be of someone under possession.
Yeah. Yeah, that did happen.
Yeah, I've seen a clip of that from Wes's computer, but you guys are the ones that experienced it, so it'll be interesting to hear you two talk a little bit more about it. Of course, Wesley does talk a little bit about it, in previous episodes, but I can confirm that what was happening definitely wasn't natural, and it was a sudden shift in her personality. And it was kind of scary to watch, so I can only imagine what it was like being in there. But since we once again got off topic slightly, did you have any more questions for me, Tim?
No, I mean, I sound like I want to see your book. I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to get online and see what it and take some interest in
Before
it
we
and
get
see
on
what
here,
it's about.
what is the name of your
Say that again, I'm sorry.
part 2?
What is the name of part
What
2?
is the
I keep losing you.
He wanted to know it. He wanted to know it. Your next book, the title of your next book.
I'm still kind of working on that. There's been some names tossed around, and one of the names was kind of tossed around in the first book, but I think it applies more to the second book. But I was thinking The Redemption of Holly. Of course, I'm still open to suggestions on that, but I don't know 100% if that's going to be what it's titled, but that's what I'm tossing around right now. I think it's a nice and simple title, and it describes Holly's situation very well.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I think I came up with Holly's Torment or something like that.
Holly's Torment would definitely work too, or Holly's Tormentor or something like that. She is really tormented from her situation, which is very similar to the real life case that she's based off of. And it's going to have a different atmosphere to it than the first one. Malik's going to be battling not only the case itself, but battling a sense of a negative side of spirituality, because there's someone that does not like what he's doing at all, if you get my drift.
I see. Ah, that sounds intriguing. I like it.
Yes.
Well, Tim, actually, I mean, obviously you can get the book, but thinking about it, I don't know if you have a Kindle membership, but I can actually send you my book. So you can either read it on Kindle, or I can just send a copy of it to you to read. I mean, you're part of Foxclan, so, I just give you a free copy.
Yeah, you can do that. My wife's got a Kindle, so we can do that. No problem.
Well, no problem. If you're on Kindle and you're using the Kindle membership, you can get my book for free on Kindle. And, of course, that's obviously the way that Kindle works. But I don't know if any of your books are on Kindle.
Yeah, both of them.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to definitely look at yours as well. Kindle, as you know, gives a little bit of royalties each month.
Hey, Tim, are you looking for cover help on that third book?
No, I just got to finish it. I got the picture and everything done. I just need to put the words on it now. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay, yeah, because
If I need help.
stuff and she ain't gonna charge you.
Yeah. Well, I may need a little
Sure,
help
help.
trying to get that finished up. So, yeah.
I must.
Give a shout out. Nikki did a fantastic job on my cover, and I absolutely love the cover. Like, I have to give a shout out to Wesley's wife. She did a fantastic job on it.
Oh God.
Okay.
I hope it's an episode she don't listen to. Her head will swell.
Well, I guess that's okay if her head's swelling for something she did well. I mean, at least it's something that's a little bit reasonable, as opposed to, not something that she did well, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just curious. Real life. What happens to you in real life is actually very interesting. Like Wes's books are real life and everything. I mean, mine are fiction, but I use history and try to use real places and stuff like that. So that's why I was asking, because it might appeal to a lot of people, different countries and stuff like that, or places. It appeals to people because they can relate to that. So that's why I was asking. They can relate to an area or relate to a country, whatever. So that's pretty cool.
That's right. Well, there's huge cases all over the world that are potential for books. There's definitely plenty of potential there.
Well, if they read your story, they can relate to something that happened near them or around them or someone they knew, stuff like that. So that's why I was asking about that, because people can relate to it personally, as far as that goes. So
Yeah.
So that's very important when you're writing something related to real life.
So I'll get to this point. Just how gruesome are some of your cases that he solves before it happened?
Well, the first case I'm going to tell you, and related to the real case, it was extremely gruesome. And what they did to her had to be extremely painful. Like, in her case, this might kind of give it away to people as far as, the real case, if you watch true crime. But in her situation, the police have seemed to overlook some things. Either they overlooked it because they're being deceptive to try and catch the people involved, or they just completely dismiss some of it. But they've said that they have discounted certain aspects of the case. I must say that right now, the voicemail that many people have heard is not considered evidence at all, and they've completely discounted it. And I have to give a disclaimer, but I personally am convinced that her actual murder was actually recorded on the phone. And what happened was she must have butt dialed a friend of hers while they were attacking her, and you can hear them arguing and cussing each other out. You can also hear some names mentioned, which I won't say on here, but you can hear her go "ow" really loudly, and you know, she was trying to fight back during the whole thing, but you could tell from from the voice clip that her hands were tied so tight that she was in pain, and she was asking, because her hands were burning, for them to untie it. And do you remember some of those old phones that sometimes you would get a voicemail like hours later than what they said they called? And the timestamp would be way sooner than when they called. There's a problem with certain phones in the past with that.
Gotcha. I understand. So, writing these books, writing this all out, does that help you with your personal experience?
My personal experience?
Well, I mean, you say you heard about the story, it brought you to tears. So, putting this in a book or writing it out, does that help you with that? Help you kind of deal with the situation?
Yeah, it actually did feel like I had to write it, and it just felt this feeling like I had to, because it breaks my heart that no one was there to save her, and especially since it's likely that her own friends betrayed her, based on the theories that I have, at least, on why they did what they did. I, of course, do have my own theories on everything, but it definitely helped me a lot writing that out, and it's just an extremely sad situation. And the real life person was only just going on the age of 20.
Yes.
And of course she lost her life that young. So I did write her a little bit older in the book just to change some details, but all those details, when you consider them, are extremely disheartening.
Well, that helps a lot. That helps you a lot, dude, to get that up. So cool. Yeah. Some things you think you have to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, I don't have any more questions at the moment. I mean, hope you had good luck with your books, and I hope they get out there and people get to look at them and take notice of them. So.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. I mean, that's actually a big reason why we're doing what we're doing. Although we have plans to do other things with this platform, but that's a huge part of it. So I appreciate the questions, and I look forward to getting the book out there a little bit more. I think once people read it, they'll enjoy the story for sure. And like I said before, getting to know the characters is a big part of my book. So yeah, I think that's one of the enjoyable things, getting to know each of the characters and writing each of them with different personalities and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun doing that, because you try to give them you almost use some of your own personality in them to relate, so you know what to do. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and I actually found myself putting more of my personality into one of the side characters and not the main character. I do feel like the main character is not really a reflection of me at all, but maybe slightly. But my personality is kind of split up between some characters a little bit, just a little bit. But, namely, my favorite character is one of the side characters.
Sure. Mine, yeah. I did the same thing. A little bit of each, so. Cool.
I see big things happening with this platform.
Great.
But, is there anything else you wanted to ask me about today, Tim?
I think I'm good for now, if you are.
Well, Tim, I appreciate this time. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for all the questions. I enjoyed doing this. And again, Wesley is saying that we're aiming to have an interview with Melissa here soon.
Yes.
So we're going to be working on that. It could be next weekend, hopefully. That's, of course, depending on our schedules, but we'll work that out amongst each other. And I'm looking forward to also talking to you again soon. And do you prefer to go by Tim or Timothy? What do you prefer to go by?
My name is actually Timmy, not Timothy.
Oh,
Timmy. You call me Tim, that's fine.
I'm glad I asked you. It's just like with me, I'm Matthew, and most people call me Matt.
Yeah.
It's easier.
Most of the people I work with call me by my real name. So.
Oh, Tim.
Either way.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, Tim? Yeah, I probably should have asked that last episode, so I apologize for that.
No, that's fine. Now everybody knows.
Well, thanks, Tim, so much for your time today, and I really do look forward to talking again soon. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad. Thanks. I hope so too. Yep.
Thank you for tuning in to Foxclan Publications today, and don't leave, actually. There's going to be a special clip here at the end, so stay tuned.
This is Matt, and we have here Wesley and Tim.
Hey, all right, I'm Tim Hinton. I live here in Western Iowa. It would be a good idea to read a clip from your new book so people can know what to anticipate with your new content.
All right. So, of course, what we talked about, my newest book will be Hotel Hell. So I'm going to read just a little bit out of here from chapter 7, and the chapter is called The Exorcist. I thought it was interesting for this book to name the chapters. So, at the beginning, chapter 7, The Exorcist. The situation calm enough, the group was able to get Kinsey into the back seat of Tim's truck. She still struggled, to free herself. So Aaron sat on one side with his arms around her waist, while Brandon sat on the other, holding her by the thighs. Wesley and Tim walked back into the building, grabbed their equipment and bags. Zach decided going into Hell's Gate with his dad and Tim was the lesser of two evils, considering what his other option was. In their mind, there was trepidation of not being able to leave once they started, just like in the boys' dream in the beginning. As the three ventured inside the hotel, the building was silent. They would soon find out the tranquility was an evil storm brewing, getting ready to fight the spiritual conflict ahead. And the group was in its eye. Doors were slamming in multiple areas, including there on the second floor, where they were. The atmosphere felt dark and heavy, as the outer layers of the wickedness was starting to puncture their souls. The battle had begun. Zach looked around the room nervously, while Wesley and Tim separated the equipment and put it in the bag that it belonged in. While playing lookout, he caught a glimpse of something that he didn't want to see. It was a 7-foot-tall, hooded shadow figure, darker than the darkest of nights. What originally caught his attention was the figure's glowing red eye. Come on, guys, come on, hurry! He managed to get out of his mouth as the fear began to take over. Who is it, Zach? Wesley asked, as he noticed the panic in his son's voice. Zach pointed to where the figure was. It was now gone. There was a dark, hooded figure at the bottom of the stairs, heading this way, he answered, his voice still shaking. Little did they know, the evil squall was sitting outside in the truck at the same time. The attack started with Brandon. As he was holding Kenzie's leg, icy cold fingers reached up from her thigh and squeezed his forearm. What was that? He asked really loudly as he jumped. He knew it wasn't her fingers, too thin, and Aaron had them to where she couldn't use them. What in hell was what? Aaron asked as he felt the truck shake from Brandon jumping. Brandon explained what had happened. During his explanation, Kenzie looked at both boys with her dark eyes. As she did this, an evil grin appeared on her face. Suddenly, she turned to face Aaron. You're next, she said. Her voice was back to being a half for all. A wicked laugh echoed throughout the truck. And that's what I have for today.
Thank you for sharing that. Definitely interested in hearing what happens from there. I'm sure all the people that are listening will be too.
But what are you going to share with us today?
Sure thing. My new book is still a work in progress. It may take a lot longer than I anticipated. But I'm going to read a section from this book. I think it's a very fun little segment that happens here. Just to kind of set the tone here, Malik is just beginning his case here, and he's in Diamond Head, Mississippi, which is the location where Holly lives. Present day, Diamond Head, Mississippi, Thursday afternoon. I follow the path that Holly laid out for me. The traffic is sparse in this part of Mississippi, a huge switch from Colorado. It's only a 10-minute walk from where I was, and I'm glad to see that the sign says Glendon Storage. I walk up to the window and show the guard my key. He opens the gate and I start walking. The aisles start from one end and go all the way through 10, and they count up to 100 through the aisles. So I'm going to need to walk to aisle 7. As I come to aisle 6, I start hearing a noise. Normally people drive this, at least I'll be able to next time, I think to myself. Malik, I gave you the wrong aisle number. Come this way, I'll show you. I was caught off guard, especially to hear his voice. But down the aisle is David. I'm surprised that he's here because he walked the complete opposite direction. But I assume he realized he made a mistake and came back. I move to the center and start to take a step forward, but then I hear the sound a tire makes when you step on the gas all the way to the floor. I look and see an old school hot rod with flames painted on it. It's speeding straight towards me, so I jump to the side out of the way. I hear a crashing sound, so I get up to look. The car is gone, but David is still standing there. Is your heart racing yet, Malik? His voice crescendos very deep and scary sounding. Fire comes out of every orifice, and his eye patch burns away. The eyes turn bright red, and he starts laughing again. Kalena wasn't your soul to take, Malik. She was mine. Holly isn't your soul to take. She's mine. The flames spread and the laughter sounds more maniacal. The last one God chose lost. You will lose too. Your storage unit is 666. I move behind the building on the way to aisle 7. I want to stay out of view, and I'm frightened beyond anything I've ever felt. I hear a loud explosion, and I nervously look back. Nothing's there. Clearly, that was not David, the understatement of the year. And that's it for that section there.
Very good. I'll be anxious to figure out what's going on with that.
Yeah,
you're so full of damn twists and turns, it's hard to keep up.
That's right. You're not going to be able to tell exactly what's going on just from reading that clip, but it gives you an idea that Malik's got a huge battle ahead of him, doesn't he?
Tim, now that Wesley and I have read our books that we're working on, I would like you to read a clip from a book that you haven't released yet as well.
All right. Well, what I'm going to do is I got my first 2 books out, and it's called The Bird Tattoo, book 1, and The Voodoo Doll Tattoo is book 2. And the reason I'm going to read a little bit from book 3, which is the Gargoyle Tattoo. And the reason I'm doing this is because the bad guy, so to speak, or the evil guy in my book, he uses tattoos to change his personality and try to hide from the rest of the world so that nobody knows what he's doing, because once someone figures out the tattoo that he's using, he changes that tattoo in order to keep hiding and using it. And he finds a dark side to every tattoo to advance what he's trying to do or create the evil that he's doing. So this is it's all fiction book. So I'm going to try to read a little bit from chapter 3 or book number 3, The Gargoyle Tattoo. As I said, this person and the evil guy or the bad guy in my book keeps changing tattoos to get from one to the next. So to read my book and to follow me, you need to read the first one, the second one, the third one to follow through. So the year is 1881. It's been 3 days now since I read the article in the London Times about strange happenings in Romania. Strange happenings we are all too familiar with. The disappearance of people, grave robbing, eyewitness accounts of what some describe as a flying human being with red glowing eyes. For the past 3 years, we've chased a madman halfway around the world, from Europe to America and then to Africa. He's leaving a trail of carnage in his wake. And what he has in his mindset is placed in history while creating his evil, calling them creation. We thought we had ended this in Africa by destroying an entrance to an old excavated mine, burying this man alive and his so-called legacy into the earth and bringing an end to his reign of terror. But this article sparks another chapter in our lives to fight yet pure evil. Then this time it has to end. Andre and I were sitting in our living room trying to enjoy a cup of tea. Upstairs in our bedroom were 2 suitcases packed and ready for a trip. On the wall in our locked case hung our weapons that we thought we'd never use again. Things had been rather quiet in our home since reading the article in the newspaper, but I knew that what we had to do was go to Romania. Both of us knew if Bruner was dead or if he found a way to live. We had to prove it. Andrea was rather anxious and could not sit still. She got up and looked out the window. I wish we would hear from Father Desmond, Alex, and Conrad. And Alex Tornay says, well, I just sent them a word to the post only 2 days ago. And Andrea says, I know, but she cannot sit here and do nothing. Riley goes, I am not doing nothing. I'm drinking tea. Then I got up. Then I got that quick turn of the head and the stare. The one you know when you say something you shouldn't have said. One day, Ryland Tournay, Andrea said, I stood up and went over to where she was standing. One day, Ryland asked. Turning, she looked at me with her beautiful blue eyes. She smiled and said, I may not save your life. I looked back at her. I will take my chances with that, Ryland said. I reached out to give her a hug, and there was a loud pounding on the front door. Andrea pulled up her dress and pulled out a dagger from her undergarment. I guess the habits are hard to break. I went to the front door and opened it. There stood Alex in a frantic state with a newspaper in his hand. Ryland, have you seen this article? Alex said. Can you believe this? What's going on? Yes, Ryland said. I have seen it, but I do not understand it either. My attention suddenly diverted when I saw a black coach nearing our front step. The passenger inside pushed the curtain back, stuck his hand out with something in it. Alex, get down, Alex, Ryland yelled. Alex and I fell to the ground and kept my eye on the person in the coach. The passenger threw something out behind the curtain as the driver whipped the reins and the coach lurched forward, speeding away. I jumped up, taking chase after the coach, but it was moving too fast. Andrea came bursting through the front door, dagger in hand. She stopped quickly as she noticed Alex bending down, picking up the item the passenger had thrown. I came walking back, disappointed, not being able to catch the coach and not seeing more than a glimpse of the crest on the door. Alex and Andrea were staring and looking at the item Alex held in his hand. I knew Andrea well enough to know that when I saw fear in her eyes with the expression on her face, with her quiet demeanor, she knew what the object was. What is it? What is it, Alex? Ryland asked. I don't know. It's some kind of ring. I think a piece of paper rolled up inside of it. Let me see that, Alex, Ryland said. I turned it over and there was an emblem or a symbol. It was a face of some kind of small creature. In its eyes were 2 small red rubies. Andrea gasped. What is it, Andrea? Alex asked. It's a Romanian Blasmule gargoyle, she said. What does that mean? Alex asked. The curse of the gargoyle, a voice from behind us said. We turned to see Father Desmond standing behind us. Father, where did you come from? Andrea asked. We need to get off the street, another voice said. It was Conrad. How did you 2 get here so quickly? You have not received my post I sent. We need to go inside. We will explain, Conrad repeated. Yes, of course, Ryland said. We stepped out of the way and let Andrea go first, followed by Father Desmond and Alex. I waited for Conrad to enter, being a good host, and stopped looking at the doorway. Then I looked at the others had gone inside and hearing out of range. I cannot trust anyone, Ryland. I've been in England for a week since I read the article in the newspaper. Please forgive me, my friend, but I have been watching you closely, keeping track of people who think suspicious in nature. The coach has been here for at least 1 day. They've been waiting to come outside to deliver the message, Father Desmond said. How do I miss this? Ryland said with anger. They have brought this right to my doorstep, to my home. What gall? Yes, my friend, they're trying to find a way to get your attention. If this is Bruner, he'll be more dangerous than ever, Conrad said. We don't know if it's Bruner, Ryland said. Andrea, come back and heard it. It's Bruner, I can feel it. Now, come on, Ryland. You're not going to be a very good host. Now, come on, Conrad, Andrea said. Well, you heard the lady, Ryland said as I looked at Conrad. Andrea turned, we both followed her in. I asked my housekeeper to Pray the rooms for our guests. She left to do so. Alex and Father Desmond were sitting in their parlor to join them. Anything I can get in one? Ryland asked. No, thank you. Please excuse me for being rude, Ryland. Have you seen this article paper? Father Desmond asked in anticipation. And what about this ring you're holding? What's more interesting is the ability of Father Desmond to know and translate Romanian, Conrad said. I'll explain that later, Father Desmond said. Speaking of interest things, how do you know how to get here so quickly? I asked. Conrad, you mentioned something about a newspaper. The story you read. Conrad opened his bag and pulled out the newspaper dated 10 days ago, then he left it on the coffee table. I unfolded the story. Father Desmond reached in his pocket, pulled out a newspaper with a date of 11 days ago, put it on Conrad's paper. Alex then looked at the paper he was carrying and threw it on top of the other two. Andrea picked up the paper we had read it beside her on the desk and threw it on the table as well. I picked up the ring and slid out, rolled a piece of paper, then I laid the ring on the stack of newspapers. Someone wants us to go to Romania, but who and why? Alex asked. It's a good question. I don't know, but I know this. Anyone else who would read this article story have taken that story. Just a story. The persons or persons who have a story printed in certain newspapers have knowledge to read those particular papers. They also knew we'd be the only ones who would understand, Ryland said. Therefore, it is a message only we understand, Father Desmond said. Yes, and the ring. The thing was meant for Andrea being from Romania. She'd be the only one who could possibly understand the meaning of the image. Then I would say we go to Romania and find this person, Alex said. Or do you suggest we start looking, Conrad said. I believe the ring can tell us more, Father Desmond said. Yes, this ring is most interesting. Ryland said, I wonder what this piece of paper rolled up inside has to tell us. No, Ryland, do not read what is written, Andrea said with her hand out in front of her, motion to stop. Her voice had worry in it. What is it, lass? What's in the writing? Is it the gargoyle curse? Isn't it, Father Desmond asked. Yes, I believe it is. The gypsies use Mother Earth to give someone a spell, but most spells are to help people love, or have better health or brandish weapons to win battle. I've heard it talk about the gypsy curses. Not to look in gypsy women's eyes or listen to what they have said to be cursed yourself, Andrea said. Fear what? You do not understand this is what they fear, people? Yes, and I also heard the one who reads the spells without knowing the knowledge of spells will be cursed. This is the lore of the gypsies, but the curse of the worst. But this is the worst curse of the gypsies, the curse read by the witch. And some people call them incantations. She can put an evil spell. Person of choice who can choose to have the curse cast upon them. Choose to have it put upon them. Why? Asked Father Desmond. Power. Pure unstoppable power. That's part of chapter 1.
Very good. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, that'll definitely give a good little tidbit and hopefully make people hungry to read more. So
I hope so. Yep, sure enough. Well, hopefully you guys enjoy my little talk of my book, my third book there. Look me up. I'm on Amazon.
Alrighty, we'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Alrighty. See you then.
All right. See you then, bub.
All right. Thank you. You have a good one. All right.
Thank you.